Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement. Your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your live and local St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Erin Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services, financial planner and wealth manager, and I'm joined this week and every single week by my dad, Jeff Lapidus, wealth manager and retirement coach, and my husband, Robert Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning, babe.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan with several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
Second is to provide an income stream they can rely on so they can do all the things they want in retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, without Uncle Sam of the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Erin, Rob, and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Gang, good morning. Nice to have you back in the studio.
It's nice to be back.
Good morn.
It was lonesome last week.
We heard you held it down okay.
Well, it worked very well. It's really because of our callers. You know, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Didn't have too many calls and texts last week. I think they were missing you.
It's understandable.
Well,
I mean, we were missing all of you.
Absolutely. And we do want to remind everybody, before we get into our content for the day, that there are lots of ways that you can keep in touch with us during the week.
That's right. Just log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. You can click on the Contact Us button and request a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. Or you can click on the pop-up box that appears. It says sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. Rob keeps the last 6 to 12 months on the website. And since we were not here for the first Saturday, we're at the end of the month, aren't we now?
Yep.
Yes, sweetheart.
My goodness.
Time flies when
Time is truly flying.
When you're in Florida.
With all that's right. Well, let's revisit then our June newsletter.
We got some great articles in the June 2026 newsletter. And just as a reminder, the July newsletter will drop at the beginning of next week. And if you'd like that sent to your inbox, just drop me an email, robert@jblfinancial.com. Include your email address, and I will make sure that copy is fresh in your inbox for your reading perusal. But getting back to our June 2026 newsletter, last week of it, we've got some great articles you're sure to enjoy. The first one being high prices force buyers to stretch out car loans. The average payment in the fourth quarter of 2025 was $767 for a new car and almost $550 for a used one. Right, exactly. Could you imagine $550? I can remember when $550 got you into like the nicest sedan, every option. Those days are over. Now you're lucky to get a beater for $550. But a growing number of car buyers are taking out loans longer, with longer repayment schedules, sometimes 6 and 7 years. So that's, important thing to know. 6 or 7 year repayment schedule may make that car payment a little bit more palatable. However, you're looking at higher interest costs. And there's a great example embedded in our article showing how, if you drag that payment out, you're going to end up paying more in interest. And just as a side note, a couple of side notes, the average fleet vehicle on the road right now is 15 years old. And looking at some of these prices, it's not really hard to figure out why people are holding on to their cars longer.
Certainly, because the math changes a little bit when you go out to look for either a new or a used car and then compare it to, well, what's the cost to repair what I currently have? So,
well, you know, what I thought was interesting about this infographic that you have is that over 80% of car people that are financing their cars, it runs between basically 4 years and 7 years.
The notes.
Yes, and frankly, I don't remember. I mean, again, this was a few years ago. It was always a 3-year loan.
Yeah.
Or a 3-year lease, or a 4-year loan, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are cars getting more expensive, but there aren't any collector cars being created right now. So I think you need to be careful, look at financing options.
Well, you know what's interesting? I have a real life example of this because we often work with our clients, not just especially when you've reached retirement, it's very probable that you have enough cash to pay for the car outright. You wouldn't necessarily need to take the loan. However, sometimes it makes sense from a tax perspective to utilize payments for a certain period of time so we can straddle tax years. You know, we can pay it off over multiple years. Maybe we're not taking the full, even if we took a 5 or a 6 year note, we don't have to let it amortize over that time. We can pick our own amortization schedule to pay it off faster, which could mitigate some of the interest. So I was working with a client who has quite a few pulls on his income this year. So we have large distributions to make above and beyond what his monthly income was. So we determined that the car would be the easiest thing to get on a payment schedule. Therefore, we could drag that out a little bit longer. He wouldn't have to pay for the full $60,000 car in 1 year. We could pull that over multiple tax years. And so in doing his research for us, he found that an 84-month loan was going to be a 6.5% interest rate. And for he was looking at he was going to finance $45,000 of the 60. So 84 months would be 6.5%, and the payment would be $670 a month versus a 60-month note at 4.99%, and that would make the payment $851 a month. Now, we decided, because our strategy is to pay the loan off in much less than 84 months, we said let's take the lower payment at $670 a month because he can make those payments throughout the rest of this year. We might send him a little chunk to get that $45,000 down, and then on January 2nd we can send him either the balance or another chunk. But I think it was interesting to see, number one, just happening to know this individual, excellent credit, good cash flow, more than enough in terms of assets to be able to pay the $45,000 outright, and they're still offering pretty high interest rates. I mean, that's substantial, 6.5%, 5%.
No doubt. And it's interesting, honey, because this is really a very similar analysis that we're doing when folks are looking at a 30-year mortgage versus a 15. You take the 30, and then what happens is you really literally become your own banker.
You could make it a 15 by doubling up your payment.
Or a 10 or a 5 or whatever it would be.
Right.
Having control over that as compared to giving the control to someone else. But you have to ask yourself, I mean, that's why, of course, my questions to the clients are, how many miles are you driving this a year? Is this actually the primary vehicle? Is this the secondary vehicle? In my house, the secondary vehicle doesn't hardly get driven because your mom doesn't go anywhere. If we're together, I'm always driving.
And you like your car more.
Exactly. And so is the second car maybe should be leased? Why finance it?
I also think the great thing about leasing that people leave out is you did not derail the opportunity to buy the car.
Exactly. Instead, you locked in the price.
You locked in the price early. You also get to drive it, which, I mean, everybody does I'm a victim because I'm not a car connoisseur, so I'll drive the car around. If it drives, it's a brand new car, why wouldn't it? If it drives and I can see out all of the mirrors, looks good to me, but that doesn't really give you a feel for how did it drive in the rain, how does it drive in traffic, how does it drive when you've got 100 pounds of something in the truck, whatever the case is. Now you have the opportunity to drive it for an extended period of time. What if you find out this isn't the thing you love? You could turn it in. Someone else is going to pay the depreciation. You just borrowed it. You could get something different. Or you find this is the thing I always wanted because I just got another Camry or whatever it was, so I knew I liked it. I'll just buy it out.
And your husband's different.
Right.
He's driving till the tires fall off.
I'm not. Look, at $800,
there's nothing wrong with that, you know.
At almost $800 a month, I don't see anything. And this is just, you know, your introductory rate. You know, the average article says, and it's great little pivot point is, you know, the average sedan cost now is over $50,000. So, you know, where am I going? What am I doing? What is the car for? I'm supposed to go from point A to point B. I'm going to put my gym bag in the back, and that's the end of it. So, you know, to $800 a month, that comes out to $9,600 a year for the privilege of going to the gym and going to the office. No, I think I'm going to keep my 15-year-old Mazda, and as Jeff says, I'm going to drive it till it becomes a pain in the butt, and I don't want to pay for repairs. But luckily, you know, knock wood, it's been good and it's been reliable. So I see no reason to, you know, I mean, $800.
Well, it's interesting because it really does come out to be choices. You know, we all are making choices.
Right.
Where do we see value?
That's a great point. Where do we see value?
Exactly.
You know, the American dream, part of it is the car you're driving, the house that you're living in, etc. And are you really subject to those taboos? You know, I mean,
Sure.
you know, is the car is your car saying to other people, "This is who I am"?
Also, some people just, like you said, value. Some people really love cars, and that means that that's what they're going to put their time, energy, effort, and expense into, and that just doesn't happen to be us.
And some people are in situations where, you know, they need a reliable truck that has certain functions. So obviously that's going to push them into a different price point because, you know, it's a vehicle that, in addition to getting me to and fro about my various concerns, I need it for work.
Right.
So, you know, it's everyone's situation is unique, but these prices they're certainly elevated, and they're, like the article says, they're forcing consumers to look at creative ways in how am I going to pay for this?
Absolutely.
And, you know, we deal with these issues practically every other day because, you know, someone's always buying that quote unquote last car.
That's an excellent point. And a lot of people have been holding out, especially since when we saw maybe what was it, like 4 or 5 years ago, when
the computer chip shortage.
Computer chip shortage that led to the used car price hikes, which meant a lot of people were just hanging on to their cars, and now it's time to pay the piper, so to speak, because they've gotten to the point, like we were discussing, where the repairs are more expensive. They are no longer worth it, so now it is time to go get the new vehicle, and that's pushing a lot of people into price points they weren't anticipating.
I couldn't have said it better. Our next article is almost like a sister article to our first one. Locked Out: How to Break into Today's Housing Market. High prices, elevated interest rates, and limited supply and inventory have all conspired to make the current housing market one of the most challenging ones for first-time home buyers ever. Conditions like these are forcing buyers to be a little bit more plan-oriented than they were in the past. And, you know, our article lays out a great little checklist that you can run through to try and make this as manageable as possible. And let's start by checking that credit score. Having a good credit score is going to save you thousands in interest over the life of the loan. We also want to automate a portion of our savings so that we can get to a good down payment of at least 20%. So we want to examine that budget. If there's any discretionary items that can be axed, maybe you have an old Netflix membership or another reoccurring membership that you're no longer utilizing, you know, we can certainly cut that from the budget, throw that towards the down payment. Also, we want to let people know what your goals are. That way, you know, birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, you know, a lot of times people will be more than happy to help if they know where you're going. And in this case, I think everyone understands the importance of home ownership. So if other people in your life know that's what you're building towards, they can certainly be enlisted for some help along that journey.
And I would just mention, because I know that many of our listeners have already gone through maybe their first-time home purchase, and now they are looking either to assist their children or they're watching their kids or even grandchildren in the process of looking to buy their first homes. And yes, things are considerably more expensive, and there are creative ways to not get around the expense, because you can't change the price of the house. But I would just make the comment that a lot of the things that we have seen in the past, I don't think they're creative. I think that they might be a little destructive. Not having the full 20% down for the down payment. It's going to cost more money for you in the long run, because you're going to have to pay the PMI insurance in addition to the interest rate, which can be elevated because you are putting less than 20% down. And then doing anything you can to get into the house, because there have been bidding wars. And I think even in St. Louis, that's still something that is going on. Waiving inspections, waiving other important pieces of the home buying process. You could end up in a situation where you are creating a significantly larger expense for yourself than you ever could have imagined, than just by waiting. You move into the house and find the foundation is cracked. You move into the house, find you need a brand new roof to even get going. These are things that, although they seem like impediments to getting into your house, I often see them as really safety measures for yourself or even for your family if you're helping your kids look at the first-time home purchases. I like to joke that I don't buy gum without looking at the nutrition facts, so you're going to tell me I'm going to buy the most expensive thing that I'm going to own and not take a look under the hood, so to speak. I think that it's important to keep perspective, because, yes, owning a home is very important. It can help us build wealth. It's helped many families build wealth over time, but let's do it in the productive way.
I saw an article not too long ago that said the median home price in the United States is now $400,000.
Well, yeah, that has to incorporate the mega
mansions,
billions.
the $28 trillion home in L.A.
Sure.
That has to be measured against that jukes the stats a little bit.
It'd be interesting for us and I'm sure we could find what the median home price in like the Missouri, Illinois.
I think it's probably
area.
Somewhere in the mid 2s to the low 3s.
I think that's probably a good price point.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And let me just add one more comment. And if you're currently a homeowner, you know this, and certainly if your children or grandchildren are looking at purchasing a home, you need to remind them. There's always maintenance issues.
Oh my gosh.
And most people don't consider maintenance or even add maintenance into their budget. Now you can cut your own grass, but in most cases you're not roto-rootering. The moment you open a wall, you have issues. Especially the wiring's never correct.
And this is true in new builds too.
Exactly. So there's always a maintenance factor that's involved here. And the other thing is, most of you would also know, especially if you have been around for a few years and you're moving, furniture doesn't fit.
Right.
Make sure you have an allowance for those type of things. So those are the things that we're talking to clients about, at least making them aware to think about creating budgets for these things, because they have the capital. When you're a first-time home buyer, you typically don't. You're squeezing to get to a payment. And look, if you've done it before, it's always a mistake, because homes always cost more, period.
Right. It's not
just the maintenance cost is
I often joke that, when I was living in the apartment and the AC would go out, you'd get a discount on your rent. Someone would come to fix the AC for you, or they'd bring a temporary AC for you so you could stay in the apartment, so they didn't have to give you a rent reduction, things like that. Well, when the AC goes out and you're the homeowner, guess what? They don't give you a discount on the mortgage, and you're the one that's responsible. You got to find the person to come in to do the repairs. When will that happen? Can you stay in the house? Is that an additional expense for you? Because it's 9 trillion degrees, and as many of you know, I would go without everything before I let go of the air conditioning. These are all things to consider that you don't when you're,
This is very true coming from my daughter that said she doesn't like outside camp because she doesn't like to sweat.
Don't like to walk or sweat. That is correct. I've always been who I was from the day I was born.
Rob, what's article number 4?
Article number 4. No number 3?
I think you just did number 3.
No,
that was number 2. Number 3, what is value investing?
Okay.
Great article. We talk a lot about the growth side. This will fill any knowledge gaps you have on the value side. Simply put, value investing is analyzing the underlying value of a company in relation to its share price and only buying shares in companies that are considered undervalued. How do you do that? To properly evaluate a company requires substantial work and expertise, examining metrics such as earnings per share, price-to-earnings ratios, as well as sales growth, market position, return on equity, etc., etc., etc. Non-professionals may not want to engage on that level, understandably. There are many value funds that are professionally managed, so if you were looking for some exposure to the value side of the market, that would be a good place to start. But before we make any wholesale changes to our portfolio because of a newsletter article or some internet guff, we want to sit down with a professional and make sure that any changes that we make are going to be in line with time horizon, risk tolerance, and above all, your financial goals.
Dad, I saw this great piece. I think it was on CNBC maybe. They were talking about it a couple days ago. And it reminded me of you because often when we are talking about growth versus value investing, especially when we're looking at so we're not looking at individual securities, but now we're looking to mutual funds, ETFs, unit investment trusts, things like that. The individuals who are managing those securities get to make the decision, what is growth, what is value. And in many cases, you can have a growth investor and a value investor look at the same security, and for different reasons, it ends up in both portfolios. And so the CNBC piece that I was listening to was about Microsoft, which is a tech company that we often consider on the growth side of things, but and this is not investment advice, nor is it a commentary on the stock itself, but we've seen the share price precipitously drop from October of last year through now. And so the conversation being had by the panel was, is Microsoft a value stock now? And so we can see even very prominent names switching positions or switching we can see them end up in different investment strategies throughout time. So nothing in investing tends to be stagnant.
Connie, I guess I received confirmation on this whole concept about managers looking at the stock in different ways when Morningstar has a program that we use. As you know, it's called Stock Overlap Program. And what we do is we put in the information about the particular funds that the clients have, and then what happens is the program breaks it down into its holdings. Well, when we compare that, especially with a portfolio that, let's say, has 6, 7, 8, whatever it is, mutual funds, especially in the same family, you find that all the managers are buying the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe different proportions, but you're still holding something similar in almost every fund.
Because the growth managers as well as the value managers, because, again, at each moment in time, they're looking and saying, hey, is this still have the go-go to it?
Right.
Or B, has it been beaten down enough that, hey, it really is going to appreciate in value? There's a good chance of appreciation. So that's something that, again, I think is a process that I always felt was integral to our investment process with clients, and something that, frankly, I've found has been kind of unique. We do have the tools. Tools are out there. And
so we often do that with before individuals become clients because we know what we have in the portfolio, but sometimes showing what is currently being held is very valuable. And, Dad, just to show that you have your finger on the pulse here, in St. Louis County, the median home price is between $250 and $277. There
you go.
And if we look to the broader metro area, which would include portions of southern Illinois for us, that moderates things in an interesting way. It brings the low end down to about 209,
right?
But it brings the top end up to about 343.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Good range.
The only comment I would make about your Microsoft example would be on a long enough timeline, some of your favorite growth stocks become value stocks.
Certainly, they mature. They are no longer growing at the rate that they were before. So not that they are not growing, but other companies newer companies overtake them with
absolutely
more predominant growth stories.
And I was thinking of another legacy name of Apple. Could be considered a value stock
after this week.
Well, it's interesting because and especially most of the growth stocks we're talking about, we call them tech companies.
Sure.
And with most of these technology companies, especially the ones that have been mentioned, the real question becomes, are they still leading in new technologies?
Right, are they innovating?
Or are they buying companies, and that's how they're buying their growth?
Oh, interesting. So as opposed to, are they driving innovation or are they buying innovation?
Right. I mean, and especially one that you previously mentioned that also has retail outlets.
Mm-hmm. A retail component.
And is this really a retailer or is it a tech company? So these are all judgments that not only managers have to make, but certainly as investors, we have to decide. Where does it fall for us? And obviously,
I thought
that's
the biggest,
an interesting conversation.
I thought the biggest, most interesting news this past week was Google being added to the Dow and being which is going to kick Verizon off.
Right.
So, more tech on the Dow.
Yeah, no more Verizon.
Well, I mean, they still exist.
It's not like they got thrown off a cliff or something. And our last article, mid-year checkup. Can you contribute more to your retirement plan? It is hard to believe, but half the year is in the books.
More than half now, my goodness.
We are firmly entering the third quarter, and now is as good a time as any to put eyes on your retirement plan. And let's see, can we turn up your contributions beyond the employer match? 401ks, 403bs, and 457 plans are more generous in how much they allow you to save. And if you are involved in any of those plans, this could be a great time to turn that temperature up and really try and max it out. If you're on the right side of 50, you have some catch-up contributions that you can make, allowing you to sock even more money away. If you're on the right side of 60, between 60 and 63, there's even a super catch-up you can make. So now is as good a time as any, being we're at the mid-year point, to take a look at those retirement plans and make sure that your retirement savings are on track. It's always useful to remember that small changes in your contribution rate can lead to big dividends down the road. There's a nice little infographic there showing some of the changes that small contributions could make. So yeah,
that's right.
That is our June 2026 newsletter in a nutshell. And like I said, be on the lookout for that July one because it is hot on the press.
All right. I think we should take our first break of the hour. When we get back, we'll be here to answer your calls and questions. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be back after these messages.
And the world.
Streaming live at KTRS.com.
Summer is officially here.
Time for outdoor activities, sporting events, seasonal festivals, everything but cooking. Treat Dad to a great breakfast. The best in St. Louis, according to the Post-Dispatch. Lunch while you're out and about, or a terrific home-style dinner. Nobody is disappointed with Gingham's. And don't forget our fabulous desserts. We're open 24 hours a day, so no matter when hunger strikes, Gingham's is open and ready to serve you.
Gingham's Homestyle Restaurant in St. Charles, 636-946-0266, or ginghamsrestaurant.com.
The opinions you hear on KTRS are those of the host, callers, and guests, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or owners. If you have comments or suggestions, contact us at KTRS.com. Thanks for listening. Tune in to the Big 550 for the daily World Cup updates with Sports Director Brendan Weesey, only on KTRS. Brought to you by Lordo's Diamonds, Fairmont on Clayton, Spas and More STL, and Gingham's Restaurant.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. 888-848-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Back to the show. It's 9:35 here on the Big 550 KTRS, Talk Radio St. Louis. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
And we are willing, waiting, and wanting to answer your questions at 314-931-5877, or you can send us a text at 84126.
And the text line is pretty quiet, but we did have one come through, and our first texter says, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal that said you don't have to pay taxes on your RMD. How would that work? All I could read was the headline.
They had the paywall.
The dreaded paywall.
It's no problem. See, when you don't pay taxes on your RMD, you get an orange and white jumpsuit.
Well, I mean, I think we have a great topic today about ways that you can reduce the tax liability of your required minimum distribution. Obviously, I don't think any of us went behind the paywall on the Wall Street Journal article, so not sure what they focused on, but briefly, because we'll spend some time on this, making charitable distributions from your IRA account will count towards your required minimum distribution, but are non-taxable to you as long as they go directly to charity, and that actually begins at 70.5. So you can start qualified charitable distributions at that point, making distributions from the IRA, going directly to charity, and not paying taxes on those. You can do it that way, and then when you get to your required minimum distribution age, that will count towards your requirement but won't be taxable to you. Another way to look at it, which I was reading in a different context a few days ago, which I thought was interesting, if you are married filing jointly, this year you have a standard deduction of $31,500. So that means depending upon your other income sources, the first $31,500 of income to you is tax-free. So if you had no other income, no Social Security, no pension, and you were just taking required minimum distributions, they were less than $31,500, you theoretically wouldn't be paying taxes on that because of the standard deduction. So I think that kind of rounds out the ways that you might be able to avoid taxation on your requirement. But aside from that, it's called a requirement because you must take it, and unfortunately, it is taxable.
Yeah, most of these articles tend to be
clickbaity.
Attention, right? They're attention getters. So, because we had such an interesting text, why don't we go directly into a coaching session that we had with Sally this week? Sally's turning 73 in September
of this year.
Yes, and she asked, when is she required to begin to make required minimum distributions? Is she required to do it in 26 this year, even though her birthday isn't in September?
And then also a lot of people ask, do we have to wait until September for it to count? Or do I have to wait till my birthday, until I'm actually 73 for those distributions to count?
The answer is no, maybe. Right. So regardless of when your birthday falls in 2026, you are required to take your first minimum distribution this year. Now, the IRS does permit you the option of delaying that first-year distribution until April 1st of next year. But at that time, you will have to take two distributions, one for 26 as well as the one for 27 by December 31 of 2027. So you're basically doubling up next year. Now, obviously, there could be a reason why you might want to do that. And frankly, there's only one in my mind, which is if you're still actively at work.
Well, so here's interesting.
And you're an owner.
So here's something interesting, which is I've been working with a couple of clients that married young. So they are turning 73, but their spouses are still under 65 years old. So they are using the Affordable Care Act to cover health insurance, and taking the full required minimum distribution would bump them out of ACA eligibility. So in two cases, and this is a very unique situation, but in two cases, what we were able to do was you are required to take the full RMD by April of 2027 in this example.
Correct.
But you can take a portion of your 2026 requirement in 26, the rest in 27, along with your 2027 RMD. So if you're working with someone that's helping you build income, that is looking at tax brackets, that's maybe assisting you with the Affordable Care Act, like we do all of those things with our
like
clients.
Erin the Savvy Financial Advisor. Yes.
Oh, I thank you. What we did was we said, let's take as much of the requirement for 26 as we can without going over those Affordable Care Act limits. And now in this example, if that's too niche for all of you, let's take as much of the RMD as we can in maybe this year up to a certain tax bracket, and then you can push the rest of it into the next year if you wanted to. So the interesting thing is that there is some flexibility with this first required minimum distribution. We actually went to the CPAs to confirm that essentially the rule is just that by April 1st of 27, the 26 distribution must be taken, but it can come out in any proportion that you'd like.
Listen, they're signing off on the returns. They take the responsibility.
Well, we like to make sure that we know what the rules are.
We're not giving tax advice. That's what these CPAs do.
That's exactly right. We just got to check the rules.
So go ahead, Robert.
I was just going to, the first thing that we have down here, taxable IRA distributions made during 2026 may be applied to your RMD requirement. So simply put, it's your first year to take RMDs and say you have to take a $5,000 required minimum distribution, but you're already taking distributions from your retirement account and say those distributions were $8,000. Total. You're already fulfilling your required minimum distribution by living your life and taking your normal distributions.
Right. So to put a little differently, from January 1st of 2026, Sally, in our example, because she is born September, she is turning 73 in September of this year. Her January 1st distributions in 2026 go towards her required minimum distribution.
They aren't in addition.
They aren't in addition to, the clock doesn't start when you turn 73. It starts the year you turn 73. All the IRS wants to see is that on your 2026 tax return, in Rob's example, there's a $5,000 requirement that you have hit at least that number. They don't care what day you took it as long as the date has a 2026 at the end of it.
And it's important to note that, when you get that letter from the custodian saying, hey, you're RMD eligible and this is the first year you have to begin taking them, they're not going to individualize that letter to say, oh, and we noticed that you're already taking distribution, so you should be fine for this. They're not going to do any of that. And the letter may leave you with the impression that it's in addition to
what you're already doing.
So it's just a little caveat that we've seen that I like to throw out there because, there can be a little bit of confusion because someone will say, oh, gee, I'm already taking money out and now I got to take that much more. Like, no, you don't.
Right.
What's also interesting is that, and many folks aren't aware of this until they begin taking RMDs in their first year, the IRS gives you the discretion to pull from one or all of your traditional IRAs as long as the total amount distributed satisfies the total RMD associated with those accounts.
So you total up your full amount across all of your accounts. You can take it
however
from anyone.
You want.
Now, again, I come in with the caveat. The caveat is if you still have money inside of a 401k and you also have money in IRA accounts, you must take separately in those examples. 401k stands alone. IRA stands alone. You can't take the requirement of the 401k from your IRA, and also vice versa. You cannot take the IRA requirement from a 401k. So
that's because one is a company-sponsored plan and the other one is an individual retirement account. Those have to be treated separately.
Which works to your advantage if you're still working.
Yeah, but
because you don't have to take an RMD from an active 401k even if you are RMD eligible.
Now, with most folks, they've already They've already transferred their money into individual retirement accounts. They've turned turning age 73 or older. They're getting these letters from the custodians that are holding the money, and you could take 2, 3, 4. I mean, it just depends on how many custodians you're using. The cool part is you get to decide where you want to pull the money from. The IRS doesn't care. You can pull off from one to other. You can do it disproportionately. The custodians don't know where you're taking the money from either.
Well, they do.
Well, they will, but the thing is that they don't.
They're not communicating with one another.
Right, exactly.
So if you've already satisfied the requirement, like Rob was talking about, you're still going to get a letter from another custodian saying this is your requirement, because the custodians have requirements. The IRS or the SEC and FINRA say they need to notify you of what the requirement is, but that doesn't mean that you didn't already do something else to meet that requirement. Before we continue with Sally and our required minimum distribution conversation, we have a phone call.
Good morning, Skip.
Good morning. Happy birthday, Jeff.
Why, thank you. Appreciate that,
I remember right.
Skip. Yes, you did. Thank you.
I have a question regarding Social Security coming up in the next 7 or 8 years, where there's a proposed 20% reduction that may be on the table. What does your crystal ball look like as far as what Congress may or may not do? I didn't know if there should be some additional planning toward that, since I've got a bit of time before that happens, but I'm just kind of curious what your take is on that as we move forward, because there's been several proposals, one of which is just completely odd, whereby somebody in Congress has suggested maybe doing away with the federal tax on Social Security, which that would be great, but that would also be moving backwards rather than forwards if they have a shortfall. So I'm just kind of curious what your take is on it.
Congress not understanding how the budget works? Bizarre.
Yeah.
Skip, are you on your way to or fro the lake?
Not this weekend, but next weekend, yes.
Nice.
Well, that's
awesome.
Well, that's great. Skip, I'll give you my take on this. What happens is that Social Security is unfortunately in a currently funded situation. So we know that the Social Security war chest is not sufficient enough to maintain benefits going 50, 60 years in the future under its current level. Congress has always taken I'll call it the smart way out. There are ways that they can increase Social Security revenues without reducing Social Security benefits. Mm-hmm. It's my opinion that they will take those routes.
Because they'd like to stay employed.
Well, that's right. Number one is nobody wants to cut back. And number two is if you cut back on people's Social Security benefits, you're taking money out of their pockets. And
less spending.
Less money, less happy life, all that kind of stuff. So here are some things that they could consider doing. And frankly, most people it would be politicized, I believe, to the point where nobody's going to care. Right now, there's a limit on the amount of
wages. There's a cap on wages.
I think it's around 160,000, I believe.
181, I think. Now.
Is it now 181? Mm-hmm. They could just say we're taking the cap off, or we're going to 400,000, or whatever it is. So those that are earning higher than the current wage base would begin to make Social Security contributions on that.
So just to be a little clear, for if people aren't aware, there is a limitation on how much of your wages are taxed for Social Security. So once you rise above $181,000, there's no longer a Social Security tax. So lifting that and just reincorporating that into payroll tax would bring in significantly more revenue.
There's no question. Also, as we know, there is a cost of living adjustment factor that's been built into Social Security. There are multiple formulas that have been looked at and tested in the past, and would it be unreasonable for them to change the formula? People are going to go, I don't care. Because number one is they're complicated, they're actuarial, and if they're going to change the curve, that would be something that would happen.
And also a lot of times, so people be like, well, of course I would like a higher cost of living adjustment, but when you look at these formulas, we've brought this up a few times. We had a newsletter article about it. There's a CPI chained and unchained CPI. There's a few. And really what happens is it makes pennies difference on your increase. But if we think of pennies versus every Social Security recipient, it can change the overall curve without having a huge impact on what you would receive.
You're right. And the last thing that they could do, and frankly they may do all of these or stage them and eventually do all of them. as you know, they've moved back to what we call normal Social Security retirement age. Now it's for baby boomers basically 73. For everyone born after 1960, is it correct? It's gone to now it's 67.
No, I think you're confusing a few things here.
75. I'm sorry. That's a requirement of distributions. That's correct.
But what they have done is your normal retirement age, the younger generation, the younger you are, the later your normal retirement age is. So currently most people electing Social Security, their normal retirement age is 67 years old.
They could easily move that back to 70 or 68, 69, et cetera. If they do that, it means that you're just taking a discount you're not getting your full benefit. You're taking a discounted benefit for every year before that, and that would maybe reduce the flow. So there are lots of things they could do.
And that is something, doing that would impact future enrollees versus current recipients.
Right.
So in most cases, what happens is the way that they prolong the solvency of Social Security is by impacting future recipients versus current enrollees. We saw this several years ago, making adjustments to claiming strategies. So no longer can you file and suspend your benefit. So someone would be able to elect off of your benefit. They did away with that. Now they gave everyone a grace period. If you were born after, I believe it was January 1st, 1954, you were still able to file and suspend if you wanted to utilize that strategy, but then moving forward, anyone born after that date was no longer eligible to use that strategy. So oftentimes what Congress does is try to kick the can down the road. They'll make younger generations unhappy because they don't even recognize it quite yet, because they're not in the point in which they'll be electing to maintain benefits for individuals that are already living off of them. And I would also make one final point, which is it's funny how we always hear about Social Security solvency conversations during election years. And unfortunately, we're in an election year at the moment. So this is a fantastic political football that they'll like to kick around for a while. And usually we find that we are able to make adjustments without we've never had to cut Social Security benefits to current recipients.
Right, because those recipients would vote against anyone that voted to reduce the benefits of current recipients.
Exactly.
So to make a long story short, Congress has many tools in the toolbox going forward. I'm sure they will utilize one, if not all of them, to...
if they can make a decision.
Right.
To agreed upon.
And anyone that votes against it will never be president, so it's not good. So it's great. Right. So we know.
I think we need to take our second break.
You think so?
We absolutely do.
Then don't touch that dial. We'll be back right after these messages.
This is the Big 550 KTRS St. Louis, Alton, Valley Park, St. Charles, and the world.
Streaming live at KTRS.com.
Repairing chimneys, walkways, porches, foundations, entire homes, anything to do with brick or stone, you need a tuck pointer you can trust, and that, of course, is Morelli. Morelli is a family-run business started in 1991, and they're only as good as their last customer. That's why when you check out the reviews online at MorelliTuckPointing.com, you'll notice that they're actual customers who are singing the praises of Morelli. So if you need a tuck pointer, you need Morelli. 314-645-1387 or MorelliTuckPointing.com.
It's the half-price sale at Miller Furniture and Mattress, going on now through July 7th.
I'm Mark Miller, owner of Miller Furniture, your home for quality American-made furniture since 1927. Right now, save half off our list price on all in-stock items and get up to 60 months special financing.
Right now, it's half price on all Chatham & Wells mattresses when you purchase an adjustable base. Plus, up to $600 off select adjustable mattress sets from Stearns & Foster and Tempur-Pedic.
Take a seat and try out FlexSteel's newest custom comfort reclining sofas in the largest selection of their popular Z-Cliner collection sofas and lift chairs. Plus, the largest selection of Amish-made furniture with quick ship custom orders as fast as 3 weeks and half off. Visit any of our 4 showrooms in Belleville, Fairview Heights, Lake St. Louis, or Ellisville on Manchester Road. Don't miss the half-price sale at Miller Furniture, now through July 7th. At Miller Furniture, we put the family in furniture.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at Erin@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. We've got about 4 minutes remaining in hour number one, here to answer your phone calls and your texts at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the It's Filling Up, Baby KTRS text line.
Yeah, we woke them up, and our next texter writes, after listening to your show for some time, it really seems like you don't like Roth conversions, but what about the clients who want them? Great question.
Well, if you want them, we give them to. Well, you know what? If you want the Roth conversion, we're going to do the math with you to determine if it makes sense. And if you decide to move forward with it, it's paperwork for us. So, of course, we're going to do the Roth conversion for you. And if some clients do, it does make sense. I don't agree with you.
Let's get down to the bottom line on this.
Your bottom line.
We're advisors. You're the skipper. We're Gilligan.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go to Gilligan's Island, that's okay. We'll go with you. We'll let you know when the water gets low, if we're gonna go up on the shore or not. But you're the adult. You get to make the decision.
Here's how I look at Roth conversions after working with clients and, having been trained by you, Dad. So we got a little balance here, which is I simply look at a Roth conversion as an expense because you have to pay taxes in order to do it. So you're paying someone. What I like to do and what we have done with many clients is, can we please just wait until the end of the year? Can we wait until November to do the Roth conversion? And the reason for that is what happens when the special trip comes up that you didn't have planned, someone invited you on that you want to go on. Or unfortunately something comes up like the water heater breaks and we got to replace it. Or we need to buy the $60,000 new car. We have these other expenses, or we just have ongoing living expenses that come up. Let's wait until the end because it's going to impact your tax bracket. And doing it on January 2nd and running it in advance could, in the end, push you into a higher tax bracket at the end of the day because other expenses come up and you're not going to forego those. I have never worked with a client yet that said I would rather do the Roth conversion than take my grandkids on vacation or help them out with something that they need help with. My kids are running into an issue. My kids need some money for a down payment on a house. You always want to do those things first. So let's do those things first. And if it makes sense, and you are still in a reasonable tax bracket to do so, you might say you want to take advantage, and I'll take it one step further. We have the extra Trump bump deductions available to us for the next couple of years. If you say that's how I want to spend that money instead of just getting the money back in your taxes or not having to pay taxes on income you've already taken, then that's an expense we're happy to help you afford.
Honey, that's why they like to talk to you.
Right. Exactly.
You're well trained. You're a good child. But
why, thank you.
Where, as I like to say, you like to convert 50,000. Great. You owe 20%. You owe 20% or 10,000 in taxes. Where are we getting that money from? You realize that if you don't cut me a check, or we don't take it from your joint account, or we don't take it, etc., we're only going to be converting 40,000. Is that what you want and understand?
Right, because you're going to lose
typically
the
not
growth
in that tone,
on the
but
10,000.
Right, you lost it. It's not. You're not doing a Roth conversion of 50. You're doing a Roth conversion of 40.
Which also just leads to is that how you want to spend your excess cash, giving it to the government in advance? So again, this is just an expense.
Goodbyes that money's going out the door.
Oh my! So as all humans, we have preferences. However, like you said, Dad, at the end of the day, these are your decisions to make. But you did hire us, or our clients did hire us for our opinions and our expertise, and so we're always happy to provide that.
Run with the pack or don't.
Independence Day is right around the corner, and you could be very patriotic and want to make an extra donation to the government.
You know what? So is hour number 2 of Straight Talk Retirement. So do us a favor. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. These messages.
The rushing touchdown, and Missouri extends the lead.
KTRS AM, FM 106.1, K291CW, St. Louis.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. Renewed air attacks between the U.S. and Iran, accusing each other of breaking agreements. Iranian drones attacking Bahrain, home of the U.S. Navy Fifth Fleet. ABC's Selena Wang.
The U.S. attacked Iran with strikes on missile and drone storage locations. The U.S. military says this was in retaliation to Iran firing on a cargo ship trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz just 24 hours earlier. President Trump called that attack a foolish violation of our ceasefire agreement. He claims Iran shot at least 4 attack drones at ships in the Strait, with one of them hitting the upper deck of a large cargo ship and the U.S. knocking the other 3 down.
51,000 people reported missing after the 2 big earthquakes in Venezuela. Searching through the collapsed buildings becomes more desperate. Despite the odds, success. They found an 18-day-old baby, says ABC's Marcus Moore.
The newborn rescued along with his mother, then placed in his father's arms. Miraculous scenes of survival. The back-to-back quakes flattening storied buildings like pancakes, leaving few pockets to survive.
Venezuelan officials report at least 920 dead. Texas mandating Bible lessons in all grades of public schools, sparking a debate about the separation of church and state. ABC's Alex Brachet.
Last year, Texas began to require every classroom display the 10 Commandments. That same Texas board is considering a new social studies curriculum that draws parallels between the Bible and American history.
To mark the 80th birthday of the little Italian scooter featured in many movies set in Italy. In Rome, the largest gathering of Vespas ever. One owner, David Baumond.
We have a strong passion for Vespas. We watched Vespas in the movies, and we have 13 Vespas in Texas, and we wanted to ride our classic Vespa in Roma.
You're listening to ABC News.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores.
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2026 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Extreme childhood obesity is being cited in the case against Michigan parents arrested this week on second-degree murder charges. Genesee County Prosecutor David Layton says there were no poverty issues.
The dad has a good job. They have real health insurance. That morning that the child died, they had even called their veterinarian to have their dog treated.
The 7-year-old weighed 250 pounds at death. Damien and Jessica O'Brien have a court hearing next month. The 5-year-old daughter says the home is a hoarding situation. 2 tropical storms expected today to cause flooding in the Tokyo region. A new push for Major League Baseball salary caps. The league is calling it the biggest issue fans want solved, as too many have little hope for lower-paying teams competing in a World Series. Negotiations are going on. ABC News partner ESPN's Jesse Rogers says the salary cap is opposed by the Players Union.
This would be a drastic change. It would put them more in line with the other professional sports leagues, the NBA, the NHL, and the NFL. Those all have salary caps and have a limit to how long you can sign for or how much you can sign for.
Because flop sweat is so unfashionable, says ABC's Jim Ryan.
It's Fashion Week in Paris, and it coincides with some of the highest temperatures ever recorded in the City of Lights. The show must go on. Fashion houses are providing guests with misting machines, parasols, and glasses of ice water served on silver platters.
Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Shh, here it comes. Surprise! The
The people above your catering business are doing major construction, and the drilling is only during business hours. It's so loud.
Progressive knows small business owners usually don't like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting personalized discounts on a commercial auto quote with Progressive.
Also, that isn't powdered sugar on the floor. It's plaster from your ceiling.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement plan. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back, everyone, to Straight Talk on Retirement, hour number 2.
And before we get into our smart choices about your health care, which we will in a minute, we just had to get to some of these texts that we didn't want to let linger. So our next texter writes, my husband passed away in the beginning of the year. Is it wise for me to combine our IRAs together? I know I have to take the RMDs, which are required for both of us, but I was just wondering if I have to combine mine and his together.
So you are correct. You will want to take your husband's required minimum distribution before you do anything. If you happen to be the younger spouse, I think it makes sense to combine the RMD, to combine the IRAs, because you've already let me know you're both required minimum distribution age eligible. If you are younger, that will reset the clock on your husband's assets to your age. So it should reduce the requirement for you slightly, because now everything will be geared towards your age versus your husband, who, in my example, was older. If your husband is younger, you might want to leave it for that exact reason, because it will keep those requirements lower for you. There is no requirement that you combined the assets. You don't have to, but it could make it easier administratively, and it could lower your expenses. Now, there are a lot of examples where we would recommend not combining IRA assets because of age, because of distribution requirements. So it definitely makes sense to sit down and chat with someone before just going ahead and consolidating. But to me, it sounds like it might make sense for our texter to go ahead and do that. Absolutely, and never hurts to get a second pair of eyes on a situation like that, so you understand all the pitfalls, potential sure. or otherwise, before you go ahead and do something that could be irreversible. And the nice thing is, both in life and in death, there are tax-free transfer of assets between spouses. So that means the combination of IRAs will not create a taxable event for you if you do make the decision to combine assets. Absolutely. And our next texter writes, my wife inherited a traditional IRA from her 96-year-old mother at the end of last year. Schwab never sent any notifications for an RMD. Fortunately, I listened to your show, so I know I had to take one, or she had to take one by year's end. You know, we like to throw a bunch of examples in there every show that we do, just as a reminder, you know, and I'm glad that you know that, you know, I got to be on the lookout for this RMD. I don't know why the custodian didn't send you the notification. They're required to, but as you said, because you're... So in this example, my guess is that if Mama didn't take her required minimum distribution for the year, she probably already received her notification before her passing. Then when you moved the IRA assets into the inherited IRA, as you were required to do, they didn't re-notify you, which they probably, I'm sure that that's just a piece of the system that they haven't closed the loop on yet. And I don't even know if our broker-dealer would do that. We keep track for our clients, especially if... So, for example, if we are working with a client that's passed away and we are creating new accounts for their beneficiaries, we know if they've met the obligation yet or not. If they haven't, that's one of the first things that we do once the assets have been moved to beneficiaries, is make sure that that RMD is satisfied for the year. So it definitely is important, and unfortunately you're not always notified, so I'm really glad that you were able to get that taken care of so you didn't have any penalties or issues. And then, as you know, since Mama was 96, your wife is going to be on an RMD schedule now until 10 years from, so until 2025, when you'll want, 2035 rather, when you'll want to have that account completely liquidated. And in our clients' cases, if they inherit IRA assets, a lot of times we are reevaluating where income is distributed from. So if a client is currently making distributions from their IRA account to make their income work, and they inherit an IRA, and now we know they have a requirement to meet there and also a liquidation schedule that they are on, we say, instead of taking from your personal IRA anymore, let's shift and pull those assets from the inherited IRA. You have to take money. It is taxable, so we're not changing your tax situation, but we are meeting the requirement without creating an additional tax situation for you, because if we were to let it go and say, all right, well, we're just going to continue your income as it was, and now you have an additional distribution to make, well, that could change your tax situation, or it could mean that you are taking money that you are not going to, you're taking money that you'll need to pay taxes on that you aren't consuming. So why don't we just try to work as efficiently as possible for you? So if you are working with an advisor, now that you have this new asset as part of your portfolio, you may consider, as opposed to just having to take that RMD at the end of the year to deal with it, maybe this becomes a new part of an income strategy for you. Or if you weren't in need of that excess money and you might not have been taken from your IRA accounts as it currently stands, maybe this is your opportunity to be charitable or to be generous with your family. I say charitable with charities and generous with your family because unfortunately it's not tax-free when you make gifts to friends and family.
We call that faucet management, right?
Yes.
Well, as I like to say, when you inherit an IRA, you also inherit their RMD schedule if they're on one, and that is the floor. You have 10 years to empty that account out. So,
and I think that that has become a little bit of a trap for people, in that the RMD requirement is not 10%. So if you are only taking the required minimum distribution from an inherited IRA, you haven't fully planned, because by the 10th year, it needs to be liquidated. If you're not pulling a 10% withdrawal annually, you're going to have significantly more left in the account, even assuming no growth, than you had previously been pulling, which means, in that 10th year, you could be hit with a big tax bill. The other side of it is that, maybe the idea is that we want to not only pull more, or we want to pull it in a staggered way based on what your income needs are. So there may be a floor in terms of what you need to take, but there's never a ceiling. And if you happen to inherit an IRA from someone that was not required minimum distribution eligible, you are not required to take anything on an annual basis, but you are still required to liquidate in the 10th year. So that can be another trap for people. I don't have to take the money this year, so why take it? Well, hopefully you have it invested in a way where you're looking to see some growth over the next decade. You are building a tax burden for yourself that's going to hit in the 10th year. So you really do want to, although, you really do want to incorporate this into your overall portfolio, even if you are going to maintain the same asset mix inside of the inherited IRA that your family member had. You want to hold on to that AT&T stock or whatever was in there. You still want to incorporate how you're going to liquidate this over the 10-year period into your overall plan. Don't just let it sit to the side.
Honey, I came in a little late. My question is, does the texter let us know that he or she is not working?
Oh, so
have they already retired?
So, I mean, I think you can run with that example because our texter was just very kind in letting us know that we let them know that there was a requirement to take. The custodian hadn't let them know because they had just inherited the IRA at the end of last year. So, I mean, I think it's a great idea to talk a little bit about given different scenario.
Well, sure. And, it was interesting because when they first came out with these rules and the IRS continued to basically say, well, we're going to put it off a year. We're going to put it off. I mean, they actually put off the distribution rules for the first 2 years.
Right.
We had our clients taking distributions.
Right.
Because we knew what was going to happen, number one.
Eventually, it was going to come.
And I don't think I'm assuming you didn't go through this, but if you're still actively at work and you're not currently making the maximum contribution that you could to your retirement plan assets, well, then you do a little reverse engineering, as we like to say. Find out what you're short in terms of the maximum limit is. Let's use an example. Let's say you're putting in $14,000 a year, but you can really put in $24,000.
Right.
Well, why not take $10,000 out of that as a requirement out of that IRA, and then go at the same time live off of that money, but then go to your employer and say, reduce my pay by $10,000
over the course of the year.
And so what happens is you're indirectly then moving that IRA inherited one into your 401k.
And that becomes a tax-neutral event.
Right.
You pay taxes when the distribution happens from the beneficiary IRA, and as you are making contributions to your 401k, you are reducing your overall taxable income. So that means that in your example, Dad, that first $10,000 was tax neutral. So if you wanted to take even more than that because maybe you have room in the tax bracket, now you're just creating a little bit of taxes. So again, this is a way to strategize that by the 10th year, you aren't hit with an avalanche of taxable income. You're moderating it over that 10-year period to either, end up with those funds inside of your retirement account, which means you are able to move those funds without a tax burden on yourself, or two, at least you're able to moderate your tax rate over the next 10 years without saying, well, now I've got this huge chunk to pull at the end.
Well, and this is fun for us. I mean, it's really fun in the fact that what we can do is we have the code, we understand what the rules are, and what we can do is the code really permits you to attempt to maximize your benefits, reduce your taxable burden. And by doing some planning, you can certainly do that. And for us, it's a war game, so it's fun.
And we just have a follow-up question. It says, what are the required minimum distribution requirements for a Roth IRA?
Well,
you don't have any required minimum distributions with a Roth IRA. However, if you do inherit a Roth IRA, you still there are no required minimum distributions, but you're still on the clock, and you have to have that account emptied in the 10-year mark. There won't be any taxes because it's a Roth, but it all has to be out of there by the 10th year.
So here's how I think this will help people remember what is required minimum distribution eligible, is what we like to say. RMDs are simply the government now wanting their tax dollars. In pre-tax accounts, so traditional 401ks, traditional IRAs, when you were making those contributions, you were able to take a tax deduction for those contributions. So you didn't pay taxes when the money went in. You've also had the ability to allow those funds to grow tax deferred, meaning as the funds are growing, you are not paying taxes on the growth, even if you make trades and you see what we would consider, you see growth, you see gains, you sell and you buy something else. You don't pay taxes at that point. The only time you pay taxes is when the money starts to come out. Well, for many people, either one, they aren't necessarily in need of pulling money from retirement accounts to make their life work. Maybe they have pension or Social Security is enough for them to live off of. Or secondly, they're not pulling enough. They're not pulling at least 4%. Well, the government comes in at various ages. Right now it's 73. And if you were born after January 1st, 1960, it's 75. And they say it's time to collect. We want our tax dollars. So with Roth IRAs or inherited Roth accounts, someone already paid taxes on those contributions. So those are tax-free. The government, if you meet all of the requirements, being over 59 and a half and having the account in existence for 5 years. The government said you already paid your dues as the tax code stands now, so we're not going to force the money out to you. But what the IRS doesn't want to happen is multi-generational Roths, meaning, you inherit a Roth account, you don't spend all of the money inside of it, and then you can then pass the Roth on again to the next generation, because they want the money to come out eventually, so then you can pay taxes on it.
Yeah, I mean, the issue here is that you're using after-tax money to make a Roth
contribution,
whether it's in a retirement account or it's from Roth that you're doing individually. Growing income tax-free distribution. Unless you're eligible to make a Roth contribution, you can't employ the same type of strategy we just talked about with pre-tax contributions.
Right.
And you can't take that Roth and put it into your Roth, which is unfortunate.
It is, but if you are, a lot of employers now are offering Roth 401ks.
Well, and one reason they have to, because we know if you earn over $150,000, the match or the catch-up contribution
has to go into the Roth.
Has to go into a Roth. It can't be done pre-tax.
So if you have access to a Roth 401k and you've inherited a Roth, you can use the same strategy to get the Roth money into your Roth 401k. It would be non-taxable coming out, and you would be paying taxes on your income, but that wouldn't be any different if you were just making contributions.
Well, it's not a wash, because, again, any Roth contribution is with after-tax money.
Well, I meant if you were already making contributions, then it wouldn't change your situation, but it wouldn't be deductible. Also, remember, across all retirement accounts, you have limitations as to how much you can contribute. So if you inherited both an IRA and a Roth IRA, you might prioritize the taxable account, meaning the traditional IRA, over the Roth, because the Roth won't be taxable when you pull the money out, but the inherited IRA is. So you want to juggle.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to understand the rules, because then you can take advantage of them. Again, having an advisor to assist you in doing this is really, it's just so important, because they can do the research, they can give you the exact numbers, and then you can make a good decision.
Right, they can put the plan together for you, you approve the plan.
Exactly.
And we just have a small follow-up, and he says, if I've heard you correctly, inherited Roth, you don't pay taxes on that, but you have to have the account emptied in 10 years. That is correct. They're almost identical to the traditional Roth IRAs. Traditional IRAs, because you're still on the clock for 10 years. There is a tax component, and you have RMDs. So they're...
Well, you don't have RMDs, remember?
On the traditional side, you have RMDs.
We don't have too many of these, but I would certainly assume that since you can make an investment change inside of your IRA account, you can buy what you want and get the investment mix that you want. For most people that inherit Roths, unless there's reasons that they want to take this money to consume it, what a fantastic! You got 10 years worth of income tax-free growth.
Right. And then you can pull it all at once, and there's still no taxes when you take the money out.
Exactly. So most people, I would think, would defer taking from a Roth until the 10th year, whereas other folks with the traditional IRA, the pre-tax ones, you don't have that opportunity.
Right. You have to be a little bit more strategic about it. But then again, when we're looking at once you've inherited assets, if you are wanting to pay off debt or you're wanting to increase your income in some way for whatever reason, the Roth is a great place to pull it from immediately, because there won't be taxes, especially you have the car to buy, or you want to pay off the 6-7 year car note that you just took, or you want to pay the mortgage off. This is a way to pull the money without impacting your tax situation at all. And this is very similar to when we're working with clients that have 401k Roth components. They have the opportunity to roll those funds from the 401k Roth into their own Roth IRA account if they'd like. Now, if the Roth wasn't in existence, they're going to have to wait 5 years to pull the money, which could be okay. Or they may say, we have some things we want to do. I want to buy the retirement boat. We want to pay the mortgage off. We want to create our emergency fund because we don't have that. You can make a direct distribution from that Roth 401k, a check made out directly to the owner of the 401k, non-taxable to you to do any number of those things. You could take the balance into the new Roth account if you'd like, or maybe there won't be anything there, but it is another pool of money that you have access to immediately when you retire that doesn't create a taxable event for you. So it could come into use in terms of your strategic long-term planning.
You're exactly right, and I think it becomes a lot more complicated with the pre-tax money.
Right.
Because, I'm just thinking about scenarios, and we've gone through, as you can imagine, a lot of these where our clients are inheriting money before age 73.
Sure.
Where they're looking at the fact that they were going to have to pull required minimum distributions from their accounts. Uh-huh. So the question becomes, do we add to the poison? Okay, right? Where we're saying, okay, now I got to take from mom and dad's and mine, or do I try to maybe liquidate faster so that I have more of a levelized income tax liability over a long period of years?
Well, it's funny that you say it like that because while you were out and about, that was exactly what we were discussing, which was that the RMD, that the requirements on inherited IRAs are flexible, but they can be a trap for some people because the requirement is less than what that distribution amount is. And in addition to that, if you're already taking money from taxable accounts, why not switch it, take it from where you must take it versus taking it from where you were just, currently taking it?
Certainly. And we've also had a whole rash of folks that have also inherited, in many cases, annuities from their parents. Many of those non-qualified annuities.
Have different tax treatment.
Exactly. And they have a different tax treatment in that they have to basically be emptied in no later than a 5-year period. Right. So what happens is you've got competing tax codes
and competing longevity or amortization schedules, I guess you could call it.
Exactly. So it becomes very difficult for someone that is not skilled in the rules to be able to come up with something that is the most effective thing. And so you have an advisor. This is a good reason to lean on that person and say, hey,
let's really incorporate this into our plan versus this is just money I inherited and sits it to the side.
And, we love to do this, especially even with our folks that are prospective folks that want to come in and maybe become clients with us, is that we have just this large, 4x6 electronic whiteboard. And we just lay it out.
Right.
We lay out the timeline. We create bubbles, show distribution patterns so that we can really kind of massage this to get it into something that makes sense, and not just for us, but so the client can see the flows.
Well,
so that we can build their expectations about, what the taxes will be, et cetera, and that is, maybe just the most meaningful way to do that. And I just think it's great.
Because the ultimate goal is that the money stays with you and your family.
Right.
Less of it goes to taxes. And if we can be efficient about that for you, then it's all the better. Because the ultimate purpose of family leaving money, friends, family leaving money, is it was for you. It was for your family. It wasn't to be, you didn't want to see erosion in taxes. I think we've got a couple more texts before we get to our first break of this hour.
We've got one more. Do you want to take our first break?
Let's take the text.
And our next texter writes, what happens when the IRA distribution is higher than the recipient's yearly salary? So this would be a situation where I guess someone was taking distributions from they're above 59.5, they're taking distributions from their retirement accounts, and they're still working.
Repeat the text question again.
I'm not getting that.
Repeat the text question.
What happens when the IRA distribution is higher than the recipient's yearly salary?
Oh, so this must be an inherited IRA. It
Right.
couldn't possibly be. I mean, at least that's what makes sense to me. Well, if that's the case, then why are you still working? Well, no, I guess, I mean, nothing happens except for the fact that now you have significantly more taxable income. So you might want to consider some of the strategies that we discussed in a way to decrease tax liability for yourself.
I think that this is sort of, I don't think that this is a question maybe that's founded in real numbers. Because if you think about it, if you were to inherit an IRA of $1 million,
it's $40,000 minimum.
Most folks are making more than $40,000.
Well, what if you were working part? You're making assumptions that are not
I'm saying
realistic.
is, I think that I don't think that this is a realistic question. I think this is sort of like a what if, and the truth is, what if is probably very difficult to do.
Well, I would say that, but even if that were the case, you could still utilize any of the strategies that we discussed.
Absolutely.
You could still make retirement plan contributions. If you don't have access to a retirement plan at work, you could still make IRA contributions at the maximum amount. That's going to be less than, what the 401k limitation is, but you still have some of these strategies that are available to employ. Or maybe the question now becomes, if your distributions are going to be higher than your pay, is this now the point where are you one of the people that inherited money that will give you the opportunity to retire? If you're bringing in more from a distribution than you were from work, if you can live off the distribution, theoretically, since you were living off of your original pay and it was less, then maybe this is your chance to say, I'm going to retire.
Well, I would think that if you're working for a company and they have a 401k plan, since they've changed the limitations not as a percentage, but to a dollar amount. You defer up to $24,000. If you're above the age of 60, you could go up to like another $11,250. So you're talking about like
over $30,000,
$35,000. So you could absorb a heck of a lot of this money. I just can't imagine.
Well,
I can't imagine it's a realistic question, but it's cool.
With that, why don't we take our first break of this hour? When we get back, we actually will discuss our smart choices about your healthcare segment. So don't touch that dial.
This is the Big 550 KTRS St. Louis, Alton, Valley Park, St. Charles, and the world.
Streaming live at KTRS.com.
I'm Farmer Dave, and here's my good friend and owner of MasterCars Inc., Alex Rosenberger, with today's hot MasterCars Inc. deals.
Thanks, Farmer Dave. We are very busy buying, selling, and trading some very impressive luxury and performance vehicles. I have bought a lot of great cars and motorcycles from Big 550 listeners this month and need more. If you have a super clean performance or luxury vehicle, what about a very low-mile everyday car? Classic car? Pristine, hard-to-find motorcycle? Entire collection? I'm interested in buying if so. Hop on our site and submit your vehicle, MastercarsInc.com. We'll reach out right away. It's okay if you still owe money. We'll make the payoff on your behalf and cut a check for your equity. Very simple, all local, all face-to-face. We buy, sell, and trade every day.
So rev that motor and point your car in the direction of MasterCars Inc. and buy or sell today. 4100 Amioki Road in Granite City, or visit MastercarsInc.com to get more details. That's MastercarsInc.com.
Summer is officially here.
Time for outdoor activities, sporting events, seasonal festivals, everything but cooking. Treat Dad to a great breakfast. The best in St. Louis, according to the Post-Dispatch. Lunch while you're out and about, or a terrific home-style dinner. Nobody is disappointed with Gingham's. And don't forget our fabulous desserts. We're open 24 hours a day, so no matter when hunger strikes, Gingham's is open and ready to serve you.
Gingham's Homestyle Restaurant in St. Charles, 636-946-0266, or ginghamsrestaurant.com.
Is your job just a job, and you want to work in a rewarding career? If the answer is yes, then start your journey today by becoming a union construction craft laborer. Why wait? Visit buildunion.com to learn more about becoming a union craft laborer and starting a rewarding career in the construction industry. Build a career, build a future, build a legacy. Buildunion.com for more information.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at Erin@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back, everyone, to the second half of the second hour of Straight Talk on Retirement.
And we got a little inundated with text and discussion, so we didn't get to our smart choices about your healthcare segment.
But for those of you that were hanging on, waiting.
And we know they're out there because you care, we talk Medicare. And we had an interesting week. Ed called the office and he said, my mom, Sue, she's on an Advantage plan. And, I don't know much about Medicare, but it seems like Mom was paying a lot for her medications, and all of a sudden it just stopped. And I just want to get an idea of what's going on because I don't want to get, hit with a surprise copay next month at the pharmacy picking up her medication. So can you explain to me why she didn't have to pay for her medicines this week? And when will she have to pay for medicines again?
It's
a great question, and I love this topic because it's always near and dear to our texters and our clients' hearts, because everyone has medication costs and everyone has to transact with the pharmacies, and knowing what's what and who's who in this regard can go a long way towards demystifying some of these bills.
And I know some people are probably listening like, well, hey, if you didn't have to pay, why are you asking? But I can see the other side of the coin here, which is, Mom's been paying a couple $100s a month for medications consistently, maybe even more than that. And now all of a sudden I have no bill. Don't want Mom to end up with a $3,000 bill for some reason because she missed a couple of payments at the pharmacy. So
our more sophisticated Medicare enrollees, they understand there's no free lunch. And just like you said, I'm getting over this month, but that could mean I'm running into a bigger problem later on. So we need to nip this in the bud because, like you said, I don't want to end up with a $3,000 bill.
Right, absolutely.
So let's break it down from the beginning. Let's talk about premium. If your plan has a monthly premium, you will pay that directly to the insurance company through your Social Security benefit. Most standalone Part D plans do have a premium, but that premium can range anywhere from $0 to $125 a month. Most Medicare Advantage plans have built-in prescription drug coverage and do not have monthly premiums. Therefore, you do not have to pay for your Part D plan when you're on a Medicare Advantage plan.
Right. So basically, this is just a quick overview. It gives you an idea of where you fall. If you are paying nothing for your prescription drug plan, in most cases that means that you have a Medicare Advantage plan. Some prescription drug plans are still offering zero copay. We call those standalone when you couple it with a supplement. So you have the supplement that covers the medical side, and then you have a prescription drug plan that stands alone. It's by itself that covers your pharmaceutical benefit because many of you probably don't remember, but when Medicare was originally created, there was no pharmaceutical benefit. That was actually added during the second Bush administration. They called that Part D.
I remember that.
You remember the adding?
Yep.
Yeah. And that I was a little young for that piece of it, but it was controversial in the sense that there was a gap involved, and since the advent of the Affordable Care Act, that gap was slowly closing, and now with other changes to prescription drug coverage, we now have a cap. So prescription drug plans have morphed over the last, I guess it would be over the last 80 plus years at this point. But anyway, let's continue on with now the original premium. That's the first thing. How do you get access to the plan itself? Either you're through a Medicare Advantage plan, you usually have no premium, or you elected a standalone plan. You have your plan. You're either paying premium directly to the insurance company or it's covered for you. Now let's get into how does it work when you're on the plan?
And then we have to talk about deductible. If your plan has a deductible, and most do, you will pay the deductible for tiers 3, 4, and 5 brand and specialty medications. Example, you have a $615 drug deductible. That's the most popular price on these deductibles this year, and you go to pick up a Tier 1
atorvastatin.
Thank you. Couldn't get that out. Or a Tier 2 Primogolan, you will not be charged the deductible. However, if you pick up a Tier 3 brand Repathia, Tier 4 Brintilla, or a Tier 5 Skyrizi, you will be responsible to pay your plan's deductibles. Some insurance companies will automatically split the deductible into 3 months for you.
So this is important for a couple of reasons. One, we're in July. So most people, if you are subject to the deductible, meaning you have medications on a higher tier, you've already been paying towards that deductible. You may have already met it. For those of you that are on Tier 1 and Tier 2 medications, your plan may have a deductible that you never have to worry about because your medications are not subject to that deductible. So this is important in knowing how you're going to pay, but it's also important in knowing which plan to choose, because oftentimes the higher the deductible, the lower the premium is, because you're going to spend your money first before you get into the insurance company's pocket. But why pay more for the privilege of not paying the deductible if you were never subject to it? So this is another example of wanting to of taking the opportunity to sit down with a professional to have these conversations, because I often see people that are very reticent to take plans that have deductibles, but their prescription list wouldn't even put them in a position to have to worry about the deductible. So why pay the insurance company more?
You make a great point. Once you're finished paying the deductible, you move into the cost-sharing segment with your medications. So if your plan doesn't have a deductible, that's great. You start the cost-sharing right away.
So you bypass the $615 where you're paying out of pocket, and you will go right into the copay phase. Or if you never were subject to that deductible because you were on Tier 1 or 2, you may just be paying very low copays throughout the year.
The cost-sharing involves you, the enrollee, the insurance company, both contributing to the cost of the medication. The insurance company covers the bulk of the retail cost, while you make those copays assigned in your plan's formulary. You cost share until you reach $2,100. That is your max out of pocket.
So what happens after you have personally spent $2,100?
You don't pay anymore.
So that must have been what happened to Ed's mama.
Indeed.
She paid 20. She's been paid. She already met her max on
Correct.
The prescription side of things.
She did indeed. And last year, just to put some context, the max out of pocket was $2,000. This year, it went up $100, 5%, to $2,100. It's reasonable to expect that next year it will be adjusted again. Now, I can't say if it will go up or go down, but it's reasonable to expect that there will be an adjustment in that.
But this is, again, just like the arguments that were had when Part D was originally created, that it wasn't good enough because there was a gap involved. It was actually creating a benefit where none existed prior. This is creating a benefit where one existed, but you had unlimited expense attached to your prescriptions in Medicare. So prior to this cap being created, you still had the same phases of payment. You still most likely had premium to pay, a deductible, and then you had a variety of tiered cost sharing with no limitation on how much you could spend on an annual basis. Now, for Medicare enrollees, doesn't matter if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan or you're on a prescription drug plan, you're capped at this year $2,100 of personal copay expense to the pharmacy. Once you hit that $2,100 for the rest of the year, you're done paying, right?
Absolutely. That's your true max out of pocket. But to your point earlier about comparing plans, say you're on a Tier 3, Tier 4, Tier 5 medication.
Mm-hmm.
Drug companies, insurance companies will cover them differently depending on what company you're transacting with. So, for instance, you're on a Tier 3 medication and say Company A was covering it at, say, $800 for the year.
Okay.
Another company, Company B, could be pushing you right up at that max out of pocket, so that cost is
because they're charging more?
Because they're charging more.
Okay, so this is an important thing to consider. Just because a medication is covered on your formulary, on the plan that you have selected. And even if it's on the same tier, you may find it less expensive in the long run for you on a different plan, which is one of the reasons why it makes sense to sit down and chat with someone, because if you use Medicare.gov, if you use another program to look at your own medications during open enroll or during annual enrollment that starts October 15th, they're not going to tell you that part. It just isn't part of the calculation.
Yeah, so you want to just make sure that number one, that the medications that you're on are on the company formulary, because if they're not on the formulary, then you're not subject to the $21 max rule.
You're also not subject to the copays, because you're paying 100% out of pocket for that.
You are completely on the hook for those costs. So that's not to say that if you were, God forbid, put on a medication that wasn't on the formulary list, that you couldn't get a tier exception to have it added. But again, that's more legwork. So just as a general understanding, it has to be on the company's formulary for you to be covered by that max out-of-pocket cost.
You know, It's funny. I'm listening to this. I'm thinking, poor Ed.
Why poor Ed?
Because he's got to explain this to his mom.
Say, Mom, it's okay.
Exactly. And Mom's going crazy. She's not understanding what it is. The nice thing is, Rob does.
Right.
Frank does. And as we said countless numbers of times, having someone assist you with this on your payroll, if you want to think of it that way, because really what happens is we get paid every time that you make your premium payments, puts you in a position where you can avoid these headaches and really get the information that you need, the comparisons between the plans, so that we can get you the best result.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
And just to sum up, I explained to Ed that Sue had reached her max out-of-pocket for the prescription cost of $2,100, meaning she doesn't have to pay for any medications going forward, so long as I've said, that any new medications that she would be put on would be on the company's formulary.
But as of January 1st, 2027, she's going to start over again. She's going to start paying again.
We're going to be... Not only is she going to start paying again, but we're going to have new guidelines as to what that max out-of-pocket cost will be on the medication side. Right now it's $2,100. It will change, or it could change, so we just need to be on the lookout for that so that we understand what the rules of the road are in 2027.
Right, so just because you're done paying for this year, that doesn't mean you're done paying forever. Unfortunately, it's going to start over again, which is another important point we made sure to mention to Ed.
The insurance companies changed the tiers on the drugs, and they also changed the contracts they've agreed with the companies.
Well, also, we're just talking about the max out-of-pocket, which the government gets to set it right now, $2,100.
You got your premium, you've got your deductible, you've got your cost share, and then you have your max out-of-pocket. That's a good way of, as you transact, that's the tiers you'll be moving through.
That's right. And why don't we move to our second break of this hour? And when we get back, we will be here to answer your calls and texts and wrap things up.
At 314-931-5877 or 84126 on the text line. We'll be right back.
This is the Big 550 KTRS St. Louis, Alton, Valley Park, St. Charles, and the world.
Streaming live at KTRS.com.
You know, over the years, Lordo's has become part of the family for many, many St. Louis families. For 80 years, they've been helping St. Louis families with all of the jewelry needs, whether it's the diamond ring, a diamond ring, maybe something for St. Patrick's Day, something for an anniversary, Valentine's Day. Throughout the years and throughout the calendar, it's Lordo's as your go-to. Whether it's men or women, you want to repurpose something or buy something new, Lordo's Diamonds in the heart of Ladue on Clayton Road. You see, it's a family business. The family's been running it for years, and they learned it from their father, who learned it from their father. And so that family jeweler is where generations of St. Louisans go. Grandparents have gone there. Your grandkids will go there. Right there in Ladue on Clayton Road, across the street from a Norman Rockwell-esque firehouse, is Lordo's Diamonds. Go in, make a friend, and make them your family jeweler, because you can thank me later. 314-432-8008 or online, lordosdiamonds.com.
Are you or a family member needing to sell your home? Then call me, Mike Robinson with Robank Properties. I will buy your home in any condition and always as is. Call me at 314-283-0867. That's 314-283-0867. No contingencies, no inspections, just cold hard cash. I'll save you time and money. So make that call now and let me buy your house. RobankProperties.com. That's ROBANG Properties.com.
Are you helping to take care of a senior-aged parents living at home? How many times are you getting a phone call to help them navigate daily tasks, from shopping online to running errands, doctor's appointments? It can be exhausting, and it can be frustrating for everyone. You need to check out Senior Concierge. It's a subscription-style membership dedicated to helping St. Louis area seniors stay connected and confident while living at home. It's as easy as an app, and it's just $79 a month. They'll get access to all of the personal concierge support that can assist you with a wide range of needs, from dinner reservations to concerts, sports tickets, home maintenance, groceries, housekeeping, rides to and from the doctors, and so much more. Senior Concierge, convenient, confidence, and connection begins here. Become a member today. Learn more at SeniorCSTL.com. That's SeniorCSTL.com, or call 314-270-7800 or SeniorCSTL.com.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. It's 10:51 here on the Big 550 KTRS. We have about 8 minutes left to answer your calls and your questions at 314-931-5877 or 842-84126 from the text line. I do think we want to get back to our required minimum distribution discussion.
That's right, with Sally. You know, she's turning 73 this year in September, and she had quite a few questions about the basics of taking your required minimum distributions. We've kind of talked a lot about any time during the year you turn 73, you're eligible to take. You could push it off to the next year, but then you got to take two. The one thing that we didn't mention, and I'm shocked, Dad, that this wasn't number one on your list of things that cannot be done with required minimum distributions, is they cannot go into your Roth. So you cannot take your required minimum distribution and convert it into Roth. What actually has to happen is, and let's just use an example. Let's say you have a $1 million IRA. That means in your first year, you'll have to take roughly $40,000. You must take the 40 first. If you still want to embark on a Roth conversion, you can still convert, but it has to be above the $40,000 requirement that you have for your RMD. So you can't move it into a Roth account. Even if you pay taxes on it, they're going to make you take more out of the IRA in order to complete that transaction.
It was sad.
So sad.
It was sad. Too bad. So,
but you said that you had a revelation in turning a young 69, and Skip was so kind as to wish you a happy birthday, because it was, I mean, this is really, I like to say this is the month of Dad, because we've got back-to-back weekends. It was Father's Day weekend, then this weekend is Dad's Day weekend.
Yeah, and it was feast of all, because I had a really nice dinner last night with some friends. And waiting to do our the melting pot, which
your favorite one of.
It is, and I'm still full from last night. But we are going to 801 Chop tonight with Erin and Rob, since they've come back from town.
We did come back in town after enjoying your beautiful home down in Florida.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I did receive a lot of nice birthday wishes. Not enough gifts, but the day's young. And
did you receive mine yet?
No, babe.
What?
It's okay. But I know it's coming, and it was so great that I was able to send you the link so you get me what I wanted. So thank you.
Well, just trying to wouldn't want you to have something you don't like.
Well, I appreciate that. So, in either case, I was, as I like to do,
thinking.
I responded to folks.
Oh.
And I said, obviously, thank you for the birthday wishes and glad to be here to celebrate.
Yes.
A lot of folks haven't made it as long as I have, and there are obviously folks that are older than I am, planning on hanging around for a while.
We'll keep you.
But as usual, I'm always thinking about stuff. And I have an opportunity to kind of reflect, not really just on my life, but what my life has been like as an advisor and the things that I've seen. And
wow,
I just wanted to share a couple of things with everybody. And these are just a big thing.
Big thing.
And I think that I've come up with 3 things.
Okay.
And they're all related, but
okay, hit us with number 1.
Number 1 is, and these are all, you'll say, yeah, but it's true. Happiness in life comes when you're happy with who you are.
Oh, so this is a really big thing. We went above the required minimum distribution.
Exactly.
We're okay.
You have to make peace with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're able to do that and be, let's call it a happy person, a positive person, you then can make the world around you positive.
Since we've taken this slightly different direction, and I know we only have 4 minutes left, how long did it take you to be happy with yourself?
How long were you at war with yourself?
Yes.
To be honest with you, I've never been at war with myself. I really haven't. I mean, at 13, I figured out that I wasn't going to be an NBA player.
Was that the first disappointment?
Yeah. Getting torched by some girl when I was 16 years old, that was like the second disappointment. But
okay.
But realistically, being happy with yourself is really, you'll find happiness in retirement and through your life.
Okay.
The second thing is you have to make your environment happy around you. What I really am talking about specifically is your friends and your family.
Surrounding yourself with people.
I once heard, and I can't tell you who said this, was that success in life, the wealthiest person in life is the person that has the most people that come to their funeral. It isn't what they accumulated, it's how many people came to honor them. And I like that. So I would certainly say, and I know I found this as an advisor, if you have family issues, children, grandchildren, whatever, spouses, fix it. That's probably the one thing that most folks have the biggest regrets on is family. And the third one is faith. Realize that as much as you may think you're the center of your universe, you're not. And all the good things in life come from having faith. And I've always had a very strong faith, and I certainly have encouraged it with my children, but I think there's a higher power, I do, and I think that, I have great faith, so I would say have faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your family, faith in God. So those are the 3 things that will help you.
Wow.
Relationship with yourself, relationship with your family, relationship with God.
Well, that's a great way to summarize it.
That's, as he was saying it, that's how I heard it.
That setup I did was totally wrong. I thought you walked, took a little lap around the studio. Dad walks back in, says, I was thinking about something since I've turned 69. That I want to talk about.
Oh, but I did want to mention...
I thought it was in relation to the required minimum distribution conversation.
No, but I do want to mention that, 70 is next year. It's a big one.
Do they just keep getting bigger?
Well, no, it's supposedly a benchmark one, so we're going to have a big party.
Are we?
Yes, we are, and I'm going to throw a big party. And naturally on the invitations, we're going to say, gifts are not required, but greatly encouraged.
So
I like gifts.
So everyone, you literally have 364 days, because it's only one day past the man's birthday of 69.
Yes.
To plan for the 70.
I got a really nice Batman watch yesterday.
Wow, you have some nice friends. Oh, Aunt Randy gave
it was great.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's collectible. I don't wear watches, but it's going into my collection. It's great.
And if you all could see him now, which I say if you all could see him now, but the really cool thing is KTRS has started recording us. So now you're able to see us, not live because unfortunately we can't do it live, but the recordings are going to be up and available on our YouTube. So if you happen to take a look at this week's show when it goes up in about a week or so, he's completely decked out in like all Batman. It's got the Batman hat and black and yellow outfit. It's like completely matched.
I like to dress up for when we work.
I have a face made for radio, so yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And you know what else is great? Tune in into our show next week. We know it's going to be 4th of July, but we are going to be here, so tune in before all your fun and festivities begin next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more straight talk on retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.